Chapter 23. The Spillover of Clarity. People often imagine that work is one life and everything else is another. They speak about work stress as if it can be left at the door, as if personal life begins cleanly the moment the laptop closes. In reality, most lives do not have such clean thresholds. The mind does not switch identities simply because the calendar shifts. The inner climate you live in at noon will shape how you speak at dinner. The attention habits you practice at your desk will follow you into conversation, into parenting, into friendship, into solitude. The person you are while executing is not a costume. It is a mode of being, and modes tend to persist. This persistence is usually discussed in terms of burnout and spillover in the negative direction. There is another direction that is less expected and more quietly powerful. When the inner world becomes ordered at work, clarity spills outward. The first thing that changes is not emotion itself, but the relationship to emotion. A person who has learned to feel without obeying begins bringing that separation into their personal life without needing to think about it. They become less easily captured by sudden irritation, less compelled to respond immediately to every tone or comment, less vulnerable to the small hooks that once pulled them into needless conflict. They still feel. What changes is the speed at which feeling becomes behavior. The slight delay they built for emails, for meetings, for pressure, becomes the same slight delay that keeps a conversation with a partner from turning into an argument, that keeps a moment with a child from becoming a lecture, that keeps a minor frustration from becoming contempt. This delay is not emotional restraint in the common sense. It is the presence of a chooser. Many interpersonal difficulties are not caused by deep incompatibility. They are caused by reflex. Someone feels misunderstood and seeks relief by defending themselves. Someone feels criticized and seeks relief by counterattacking. Someone feels anxious and seeks relief by controlling the other person's behavior. These moves feel justified in the moment because they temporarily discharge discomfort. They also create predictable damage. A person who has trained the gap between sensation and choice begins interrupting this damage before it begins. The home becomes quieter not because life becomes easier, but because the inner chain that turns discomfort into reaction has been slowed. As this happens, the person starts experiencing an unfamiliar form of freedom. Most people are not as free as they believe. They are free in their opinions, in their preferences, in their ability to choose what to buy or where to go. They are not free in their reactions. Their nervous system governs them. Their moods steer them. Their internal narratives decide what they are willing to do and what they are unwilling to tolerate. They can feel like autonomous adults while living as instruments of their own weather. Emotional discipline at work challenges this arrangement because it trains a person to act despite mood and to speak despite discomfort, without turning discomfort into drama. That training does not stay in the office. It begins to appear in how a person uses their evenings. A person who has learned not to collapse into distraction at the first edge of friction is less likely to disappear into a screen as a reflexive anesthesia. They may still rest, they may still enjoy entertainment, but the relationship changes. The screen stops being the automatic escape from an unsettled state. The person becomes capable of being home without needing to be numbed. This capacity is subtle. It often shows up as a willingness to sit in silence, to be present in a room without reaching for stimulation, to listen without half-checking, to walk without a podcast, to let a moment be plain without needing it to be filled. Plainness is a sign of order. When the inner world is disordered, plain moments feel intolerable because they contain too much unresolved noise. The mind is constantly seeking input to drown itself out. When the inner world becomes more ordered, the need for drowning diminishes. The mind can tolerate quiet because quiet no longer amplifies chaos. Quiet becomes what it actually is: space. Space feels like luxury to a mind that has lived in constant reaction. This is one reason the spillover of clarity can feel surprising. People expect discipline to make them rigid. Instead, it often makes them more spacious. They have fewer internal conversations happening at once. They are less preoccupied with whether they are being perceived correctly. They carry fewer unresolved loops into personal time. Their attention is less fragmented, which means they can actually be with another person without simultaneously managing 10 unseen obligations in their head. When attention is less fragmented, presence becomes easier, not because they are trying to be mindful, but because their mind is not being continuously dragged away by internal debris. Debris is what people bring home without realizing it. A day full of cognitive leaks creates a mind full of residue. The person arrives at home physically present but mentally crowded. They are still inside tasks, still inside tensions, still inside imagined conversations. When someone at home speaks to them, the words are received through this residue. Neutral questions feel like demands. Small interruptions feel like disrespect. The person responds with sharpness and later feels guilty, as though they suddenly became someone else. In reality, they were someone operating with a mind that was already overloaded. Emotional discipline at work reduces the debris. It reduces the need to carry unfinishedness everywhere. With less debris, the home becomes less likely to receive the day's turbulence. This reduction changes how a person experiences their relationships. They become less transactionally attentive. They are not listening only to respond or to solve. They can listen without needing to fix their own discomfort. Many people seek control in relationships not because they want power, but because they cannot tolerate uncertainty. They press for reassurance, for immediate resolution, for closure. They ask questions in ways that make the other person defensive. They interpret silence as rejection. They interpret their partner's bad mood as a referendum on the relationship. These patterns are not always conscious. They are often the result of a nervous system looking for stability. A person trained in present-moment execution has learned a different stability. They have learned to proceed without emotional permission. They have learned to tolerate the discomfort of incomplete clarity. They have learned that a feeling can exist without dictating action. These are precisely the skills that reduce needless interpersonal strain. A relationship becomes calmer when one person can tolerate the other person's discomfort without needing to manage it, can tolerate misunderstanding without escalating, can tolerate their own irritation without converting it into criticism. Tolerance here is not endurance, it is spaciousness. Spaciousness creates a form of safety that is not sentimental, it is simply the absence of constant pressure. People often do not realize how much pressure they apply to others through their need to resolve their own emotions quickly. They demand immediate affirmation. They demand that the other person speak in a certain tone. They demand that disagreements end cleanly and immediately. These demands are usually disguised as reasonable preferences. Underneath is a nervous system that cannot sit in tension. Emotional discipline increases the capacity to sit in tension, which means fewer demands are made. The relationship breathes. This breathing changes identity as well. A person who becomes consistent at work begins to feel less dependent on external validation. Validation is often pursued as a way to calm internal uncertainty. When someone doesn't trust their own standards or their own follow-through, they seek reassurance from others. They want to be told they are doing well. They want to be seen as competent, as good, as reliable. When the person begins proving reliability to themselves through repeated execution, the need for constant reassurance weakens. This is not arrogance, it is grounded self-trust. Grounded self-trust makes a person easier to live with because they are less hungry for approval and less reactive to perceived disapproval. A calmer inner world also changes what a person tolerates. They stop seeking stimulation as a substitute for meaning. They stop allowing social clutter to fill every quiet moment. They become more selective about what they give their attention to because they have experienced the difference between a noisy mind and a clear one. This selectivity is not an ideology, it is a preference for a certain internal quality. Once someone has tasted that quality, they become less willing to trade it away casually. This is where personal freedom begins to appear as something more than choice of lifestyle. Freedom becomes the ability to not be pulled. Not be pulled by every notification, not be pulled by every impulse to vent, not be pulled by every mood swing, not be pulled by every relational hook.
a person begins to realize how much of their behavior was not actually chosen. They begin noticing that many of their habits were simply the shortest path to relief.
They begin noticing how often they acted to manage internal discomfort rather than to move toward what they value. This noticing can be uncomfortable at first, yet it is also liberating because it reveals that change does not require a new personality. It requires a new relationship with the moment. The spillover of clarity also changes solitude. Many people are uneasy alone, not because they disliked being alone, but because the mind becomes loud when there is no external stimulus. Solitude removes distraction, and the mind fills the space with narrative. It brings up unresolved loops, regrets, anxieties. A person who has trained attention and separation can sit with this more cleanly. They do not need to resolve every thought. They do not need to chase every feeling. They can let the mind run without following it. This makes solitude less like confinement and more like rest. Rest is not the absence of activity. It is the absence of internal struggle. Internal struggle is often what makes people tired, not the actual demands of life. When the inner world is ordered, the same responsibilities can be carried with less friction. The person may still have a full schedule. They may still have stressors. What changes is that they are no longer fighting themselves constantly. They are not debating every action. They are not rehearsing every conversation. They are not living in multiple timelines. They are more often where they are. This is why clarity at work can create unexpected stability in personal life. The clarity is not a work skill, it is a way of inhabiting experience. When the mind learns to return, to hold the gap, to allow without obeying, to preserve attention through structure, it becomes harder for everyday turbulence to hijack the self. The person becomes less exhausted by ordinary life. They become more available to the people they care about, not through effortful emotional performance, but through reduced interference. Their relationships benefit because they bring less noise into the room. In that quieter presence, something becomes possible that was previously rare, a life that is not constantly reacting to itself. The change does not announce itself. It is not a transformation moment. It is a gradual spillover, the way a room becomes brighter when the windows are cleaned. The world is the same. The mind is simply less smeared by its own turbulence. The person notices they are more patient without trying to be. They notice they are less defensive without rehearsing techniques. They notice they can handle tension without immediately converting it into conflict. These are not dramatic achievements. They are the natural result of an inner world that has been brought into order. And once that order exists in one domain, it tends to travel. The worker who can remain steady in a meeting learns, almost by accident, to remain steady in a marriage. The person who can return to a task after disturbance learns, almost by accident, to return to a conversation after misunderstanding. The one who can tolerate discomfort without obeying learns, almost by accident, to tolerate the ordinary imperfections of others without needing to correct them constantly. The office becomes a training ground, and the rest of life becomes quieter, not because life becomes less human, but because the human inside it has become less governed by noise.